As you may know, I'm going to cover some broader topics in the Sustainable Wealth Secrets newsletter to help you be more stable and more prepared for what is coming economically. If you want to maintain your independence and build your wealth by converting your income into net worth, then pay close attention because I'm going to bring to you some key concepts and some experts that are going to help you do that. Now, first, I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the misconceptions and problems folks have when it comes to building wealth. So I just got off a call with somebody that's going to be a potential interviewee. He has a similar lifestyle to a lot of you folks where he has the independence to work wherever he wants, and he's able to travel, and he's able to additionally build wealth at the same time. He's able to have the flexibility to continue his income despite being in different locations around the world. Now, I'm going to let him tell his story in the interview, and that's why I want to make sure that you've subscribed or otherwise joined us at the newsletter at www.sustainablewealthsecrets.com. But the most important thing and a mistake that you want to avoid is thinking that there is only one way to build wealth. So I've talked with a lot of you guys on the phone, and we've had these workshops and Q&A sessions, and I hear time and time again that I must do this in order to gain that, when you can pretty much do whatever you want and still get the results if you have the sustainable wealth secrets, the principles of wealth building. And one such a principle is that it's not the investment modality, whether it's life insurance. Life insurance is not an investment, but whether it's structured in life insurance, whether it's structured in a business, whether it's structured in rental property, whether it's structured in a career set or a skill set, that structure is not important in the wealth building, or not a determining factor in the wealth building, as much as its suitability for you as an individual. So let me give you an example. You can make a lot of money as an electrical contractor working for somebody else. You can get your master's license. You can become a key component in someone else's business. And that is the employee structure that works well for some people because they take their high income and they use what we talk about in these programs to convert it into net worth. They start investing in assets that cash flow. They start building up passive income. They start getting multiple streams of income. They reinvest in their skill set. All the things that we talk about. So the modality of being an employee, it is possible to build wealth. Our definition of wealth, of course, is the ability for what you've already earned to provide for what you desire in the future, to support your lifestyle no matter what the economy does. Now, the employee modality may be suitable for a lot of people, but you may not want to have the limiting factors, which could be where you work, the limiting factors of what type of work that you do, or that the owner could make bad decisions and you could be out on the street. And so there's a lot of problems with that modality of being an employee that many people choose to start their own business. So that same electrical contractor, and if we were to draw up a matrices, it would be your skill sets, it would be the modalities, it would be the desired conditions of outcome. So that same electrical contractor with the master certification, or if they're a master electrician, um, they can own their own business, which has a whole different set of problems, but it might give them the scale to syndicate effort through a set of employees. So it's not necessarily better, but it may be more suited towards your personality because it gives you better income in some cases, not necessarily all cases. I was talking to an electrical contractor a while back, and basically he had employees that made multiples of what he earned in a year. Now he's gaining equity, and that's part of the wealth that we're talking about, but they were earning multiples of what he was earning, and that really bothered him. And it just weighted him down because he had electricians making $150,000 a year when he could barely scrape by $30,000 a year. Now we had the conversation though, and in that modality of owning the business, he was only making $30,000 a year, but he had his own, a truck paid for. He had a company boat. He had office buildings that had cash flow beyond just the actual primary activity. He had other things going on, and in that modality of a business, yes, he's making $30,000 a year, but he's making $80,000 over here, and he's got $50,000 to $60,000 in expenses covered tax free through the business, and he's got a retirement account that's paid for by the business, because instead of receiving the money as W-2 income or owner's draw or whatever you could receive it as the business owner, he's actually getting it in his retirement account directly. Oh, and there was also the 529 plans that were there for his kids that he didn't pay taxes on, because it would magically showed up in his company sponsored educational benefit program. Now again, the mindset is important to connect your temperament, your desires, your skill set with the modality that is most appropriate for your outcome. And so focus on the outcome is what we talk about, because if you're looking at the outcome, you don't care about a lot of the little details, like the commissions that salespeople are going to get. You don't care about what it costs to hire the advisors. We talk about hiring a lawyer, hiring a certified financial planner, and hiring an accountant, and even hiring a bookkeeper in a lot of cases. And I've got folks in bulk. I've paid $500 a month. I've paid $5,000 a month to have the right bookkeeping staff. That's not even a tax return. That's just getting the bookkeeping done. And it feels like it takes away from what I earn. But when it comes tax time, I have fewer headaches, fewer frustrations. So the modality or the structure of owning a business can give you a lot of flexibility. Now, what's beyond owning a business? Well, it's becoming an investor. It's investing in other people's businesses rather than having employees, because businesses have headaches. They have staffing, they have taxes, they have compliance rules, and then there's processes you have to develop so people do the work consistently. And then there's employees that show up on drugs or drunk. There's a lot of issues in a business that might not be suitable for you. And so there is now the active investor perspective, the active investor modality or structure. And I know I'm floating around a lot with the words here, but the language is important in the context of your implementation, not necessarily how I teach it, because you may be emotionally suited to be a business owner, but practically you can't get the work done. And so you start as a business owner and you transition to maybe an active investor and then eventually a passive investor. But as an active investor, you might own real estate so you're still an electrical contractor, but that money is going into active real estate that you're now renting out to people. And now you only have to deal with the tenants. And ultimately, you're building wealth that way. The equity in the houses, the fact that the tenants pay all the mortgage and everything like that, the fact that you have that tax break because it's an active engagement. But again, you might have only done that because your wife has a real estate license, or your husband has a real estate license, or your son is getting into real estate and you have somebody to take care of that thing for you. And so it's active in the sense that you structured it to be active. Maybe you set up an LLC. This is not advice. This is just ideas. But ultimately, you see where we're coming from. And then the last one, of course, is passive investing, is where you put aside money now that creates residual income for you over time. But that could be as easy as, that could also be intellectual property. So you could have been an electrical contractor who starts a business, sets up an apprenticeship program, and now has students who pay tuition to attend classes that your apprentices are in as well, where you're using that to recruit additional electrical contractors for your business. It only gets complex, okay? And the reason it gets complex is because now it is difficult for some third party to take it away from you. So wherever you start. But as you apply these principles, we're building structure and modality to implement and to continue the implementation. That's the sustainable part. If you can only do it today, but now Jimmy Carter's in office or some other president's in office and everything falls apart, that's not sustainable. And so what we have is your temperament. That's why I ask a lot about, what do you feel comfortable with? What are you currently doing? And again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guide along the way as I bring you to experts in the marketplace. And that's why we're going to start doing more interviews, because I know some of you folks are tired of me talking. But the underlying factors are, there are experts out there. And if you're going to do this stuff, don't wing it. Don't struggle as an electrician. We'll skip the career side, because it could be as easy as It could be an electrician, you could be a plumber, you could be an IT professional, you could be a middle manager, whatever that trade struggle is. Let's set that aside, because you could have the best skills in your trade structure applied in the wrong modality. And now you're an employee that's frustrated why the company doesn't make good decisions and why might you get laid off next week, rather than, again, implementing these different things in a structured plan. We always talk about written plans. That way you can do the math to see if the plan's going to work out, projective cash flows. I'm getting excited about this because I know when this clicks, you'll be able to draw a couple grids on the screen, or you'll be able to draw this out on paper, and you're going to say, what's my skill set? How am I currently applying this skill set? How could I apply this skill set? And then ultimately, what experts can I borrow from to build the overall environment that creates the outcomes that we're looking for? And again, Sustainable Wealth Secrets is about transforming your income into long-term prosperity. And that includes building up income. And so you don't have to own a thing. And the reason I am constantly pushing on this, you don't have to own a thing to benefit from a thing. And so you could be an employee that has passive income coming from real estate, contracts, stock investments, intellectual property. This is like a giant list. And you could do that, living on a farm. That's what I'm doing. I'm expanding a farm. I'm building out a farm. I'm going to do what we call the intentional thrift nomadic caretaker thing, which you'll see in another channel, which is essentially showing everybody, not only can I do whatever I want, I can actually do it from scratch now as easy as I've done it from scratch in the past. And you can too. So the key is, wherever you are, we assess where you're at. We assess the modalities. We assess the structure. We get it all documented down into kind of a plan. It doesn't have to be a perfect plan. And then we start looking at, where can we borrow from this environment? Where can we get insights from over here? How can we structure this in a certain way? Oh, look at that. If we have an income event as far as salary is concerned, then we're going to pay personal taxes, but we really want the money to pay for these lifestyle elements. And so how can we get the lifestyle elements without the money? Okay. So when we do coaching, and when we do these conversations, I know it's all over the place. That's why we give you structures to write things out. We have, I don't know why I'm looking all over the place. I'm holding a clipboard in my hand right here. That's why we allow the chaos to happen, but we build structure into it so that we can re-anchor, and we build the modalities in it so we can re-anchor, and then we build the systems so that we can actually observe it separate from the experiences. And then if we have something that's super complicated, we just write an outline. We could just build out a form. We can, bring our advisors into a meeting once a quarter and say, hey, your job is to make me more money, make me richer. Show me how you're doing your job. This is something that I mentioned earlier when I was having a conversation with something. The things that work very well after you implement them seem like common sense. But when you first discover them, there's a curiosity factor. When you start implementing, there's a difficulty factor because you have this learning curve. But again, once you implement Sustainable Wealth Secrets, once you start just going through the library and implementing what you know you can implement today, you're going to build a foundation. You're going to build a system. You're going to build the pieces. They're all going to come together like Tetris, and you'll start stacking that wealth. You might be asking, when is the stacking going to start? Well, let's start it right now. And unfortunately, if you're not doing the things that we talk about, then you have a negative stack. You maybe are just keeping up. I don't know. Let's talk about your situation. Join the membership. Get on the newsletter at www.sustainablewealthsecrets.com. And then as I bring you more experts, be an active participant. Show up to the calls, write in, and participate, because that is the path towards the positive growth that can happen now. It can happen today. It can happen. It might already be happening, but maybe you're distracted. So that's what I got for you today. I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. I will be bringing in more experts so you can get a variety of opinions, just like I bring in experts to take care of my bookkeeping or to take care of my taxes or a lawyer when I have a situation, and how you can do it as well. And you don't have to already be wealthy to build wealth. You just have to have some kind of income. And then how you apply that income is what produces the wealth. The structures you use, the modalities that you look at, the systems that you implement, that is how you build wealth. You're in the right place if these things are of interest to you. If you want to turn your income into prosperity, if you want to create flexibility and freedom in your daily lifestyle, this is where you do that at sustainablewealthsecrets.com. And of course, you can ask questions, and we have a newsletter, and we're pretty active over here. I don't know what you guys are doing out there, but we're building wealth. So again, I'm Justin Hitt, Sustainable Wealth Secrets. See you in the next podcast.